Welcome to the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show. Conversations with elite business leaders from around the world. And now, here is your host, T. Allen Haynes.
Welcome back to the show. We've got a great guest for you today. We have Hope King, and she is a career sales professional, and she could sell anything that she believed in as long as it helped the people that she sold it to. And she has spent years honing her skills to a razor's edge across several different industries. And she has transitioned her skills to entrepreneurship as the founder and CEO of Black-Tie Babysitting, Inc., a special occasion on-site childcare service. Hope, welcome to the show. Hope, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We're glad that you're on the show today and excited about what you have to offer our listeners. So let's just get right into it. Tell us a little bit about your business and the types of clients that you're helping.
Sure. Well, so my business, what we do is provide on-site childcare at special occasions and events. So that's going to be at your adult-only wedding receptions. We support business networking events, really any event that has parents but traditionally does not welcome kids. But they understand that their adult guests are parents and may need that care. So that's what we do, and we've done it for about 7 years now.
Excellent. If I'm an active business person or a networking person, I usually have to go out and find a babysitter. So you're available there at certain events, or how does that work?
Exactly. So, and it came about because I myself, especially when in terms of us working at networking events, at one point I had a job working for one of the largest newspapers in the Southwest, if not the largest, working for the Dallas Morning News. And I was an account executive, and all I did was sell advertising into the newspaper. So I went to networking in the morning, in the afternoons, and the evenings. And the evening networking was one of the most challenging because I'm a single mother and I have 4 children. And so it was me picking them up from daycare and dropping them off at my parents' house, giving my parents money to order pizza, and that was really it for the evening. And then I would run to the networking, and then when it was over, it was time for me to pick up my kids, get them to bedtime, and it was just this endless circle of me not being able to spend quality time with my kids, but needing to be able to network to be a business leader. So then I thought about it, and I said, it would be great if I could extend the babysitting we're doing at weddings to these business networking events. And so that parents, instead of having to find alternative childcare, could bring their children with them. And even though there would be 2 separate events, their children wouldn't always have to see them going, that they would be able to come with their parents, and it creates this dialogue. You can really explain when you're sitting in a car and your kids ask you, where are we going, Mommy? Well, we're going to a networking event. What do you do there? Well, this is where different businesses and people who work within business come together, and they see how they can work together in the future. I mean, what a great way to teach your kids about entrepreneurship and networking. If you can have a dialogue, and then, the parents go to their networking event and the kids go to their event, and the kids don't feel left out, and the parents are at ease. They're not trying to get a babysitter off a clock or trying to hurry up and get whatever family member they were able to get to watch the kids. They can be relaxed, and when they're ready to go, they get to pick up their kids and just go home from there.
Very cool. So what led you to this field, and how did you get started doing this?
The thing that led me, because I had a 16-year career in new business development and sales, and so this was totally opposite of anything I had really done or trained for. I have an undergraduate degree in journalism with a concentration in public relations. But I was a mother, and I was a single mother at that. And so I spent a lot of time outside of my home because of the profession I was in. When you're in sales, you have to be on call. You have to be willing to be able to meet with people when they're able to meet with you, and just very demanding sales jobs throughout my career. And I spent little time with my kids, and it just got to the point where my son got diagnosed with autism. It was like, I need to be there for him, and I need to be able to have face-to-face meetings with people who are making decisions for his future as far as his academics and his social development. And so I was like, you know what, I need to do something different. And my sister was getting married, and this issue came up of kids at her wedding. And, I explained to her, my sister, of course, didn't have any children, and most people who are newlyweds getting married typically don't have kids, and their friends may have kids, so they don't understand what it puts on you to have kids, go to a wedding, and you can't have kids at the wedding. So now you're paying for a babysitter at home, you're paying for a gift for the bride and groom, and you're paying for yourself to look like something. And really it's stressful, and it can put some social events out of reach for folks who were trying to just make it. And so I expressed this to her, and which, of course, she did not care. But she said, then you figure it out. And so at that time, I had a part-time nanny who came into my home and watched my kids while I was at work. And so I hired her and a couple of her friends to watch the kids during the wedding. And all the parents were like, oh, my gosh, this is the greatest service. Whose business is this? And so I didn't have a name, a business card, a phone number, a website, anything. And I claimed it. And I said, it's mine. And I was like, just write your contact information down, and I will get back to you with all the business's information. And so it was kind of one of these things that, happened overnight, but I think the need had always been there. And it just finally came to fruition that I was the person that was going to move this, because I had worked at summer camps as a kid and always was comfortable with kids and things like that. So I think it just all finally came full circle at that point.
That's very cool. Along the way, was there a book that's influenced you?
Yeah, I think, and it was a book that I actually read when I was an intern, when I was doing my undergraduate intern at IBM. And we had to read books as part of it. And the book was Who Moved My Cheese? And I know a lot of business professionals have read that book about adapting to change. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things to adapting to change is not having fear. And I think when you have an idea, and there wasn't really anybody in Dallas doing what I was doing, and, when I would talk to people, they'd be like, people are not going to trust you with their kids, and they don't know you, they didn't pick you, they didn't meet you, how can you control other people's kids? People would feed all this fear to me as to why I should not do this business.
Of course.
So, moving back to that book and thinking, fear and wanting to be in routine is what kept those certain mice in the same position the whole time, and not really for them being able to take hold of the opportunity that was there. And so I said, despite my fear, I'm going to do this. And, it's still very uncharted waters. Here in Dallas, there's maybe one or two other companies that do what I'm doing. And in a city that has 26 million visitors a year, and then also having, the average wedding here in town, if you, take out some of the big ones and take out some of the little ones, is still a 38.5. The average wedding budget. There's so much opportunity. There's so many kids tied to that, special occasion fitting that I could do. And so, I just decided, what, I'm going to think back to that, and I'm going to move forward with this. So
good for you. So what drives you to do this? I mean, what's the passion that you have to help people?
I just think that my father was and is an entrepreneur. I've pretty much taken over his company and managed that for him. But he started that company when I was in the third grade. And it was a cleaning company, commercial cleaning company. And we were his first crew, me and my siblings. Third grade, I was commercial cleaning buildings at night with my dad. And that hard work that he put in I saw the flexibility, though, that he had to be our father. My dad never missed one of my games when I was a cheerleader. If I got in trouble, he was right there at the school, and I knew he could do those things for me because he was an entrepreneur. And even though it came with a lot of work and a lot of sacrifice, he was able to do those things. And I think with my business is that I help parents be able to work and still be the parent to their kids they want to be, and that they don't have to choose between being a parent and being social as well. Because, most of us work very hard. And so it's nice to have a break and be able to enjoy life without restrictions and requirements.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So what do you think is the biggest misconception? You just said it right there about trying to be social and being a parent. People or parents kind of make an excuse that, well, I've got kids, I can't do this. But what do you feel?
I think the biggest misconception is that being a parent now negates everything else. You're still an individual. You're still a person. You still need me time. You still need to be able to enjoy life. I don't think that now that you're a parent, you have to enjoy less. And the other thing I think that's interesting that you said that about what people say about parents. And I think that a lot of times people who aren't parents, they decide for people who are. They'll be like, oh, you don't want to go. I know you have the kids. No, not necessarily. If there is an environment that my kids can come with me comfortably, then I do want to go. And I think that with what we do, we provide that opportunity.
So what would that look like? I'm coming to a wedding. I've got kids. I'm not familiar with your service, but how do you inform the people that are coming that service is actually available? Is that part of the invitation, or how does that work?
Well, typically for weddings, it is part of the invitation, and it's an RSVP, just like the adult guests. They ask you how many children guests. They're going to say that we are the official provider of childcare at the event or at the wedding, and it has all our contact information on there. And one thing that I do specifically is my cell phone is on my website. That's the only phone number that's there. And if parents call me, I tell them I own the company and I am a parent, because the reality is that, when we choose to put our kids in childcare or with a childcare professional, whether it's a nanny, a babysitter, or, a daycare, we still have that choice. And we're getting to do the interview, the research. And when people hire me, it's the celebrant or the event organizer that hire me. So I know that you haven't had an opportunity to learn about my company and that type of thing. So I make myself very available to answer any questions. We have a frequently asked question page on our website for parents specifically to talk to them. And then, the other thing that we do too is when you get to the room, because we always have a separate room, when you get to the room, there's a waiver form there that is an opportunity for you to tell us about your child. There's sections where you can tell us, is there a special toy that they like? Is there a bedtime you would like observed? Because, sometimes these events run into the early morning, and it's your opportunity. You can talk to me, you can talk to my staff, you can talk to my supervisors if I'm not actually on site, and you can actually come into the room. You can see how we're set up. We have different measures for security and for safety for the kids, and, our staff goes through CPR first aid training. Of course, they're background checked, as well as we also have them go through sexual prevention training as well. So, and I always let people know I'm a parent, and I've built my business from the perspective of a parent. When the expectations that I have for my staff are those that you have as a parent. That we're interacting and engaging with the kids. They can't have their cell phones out. Their uniforms so the children can identify them. Because a lot of times, even though we're for private events, we're in public places. So security is a very big piece of it. People who do not have children are not allowed into the child care room, even if it's a cousin or an uncle or a grandma, because we have to make sure that the room is safe. And if you ever get into sexual abuse prevention training, they tell you, sometimes people can observe things that children do and then later use that to manipulate them. So we don't want anybody who doesn't have a child in the room, so those are the things we do. Mm-hmm.
So what age? I'm sorry. So what age groups? So if I'm listening to this, I'm saying, okay, I've got a toddler, I've got a baby, So what age groups are you talking about?
We take from newborns all the way up to about age 11. And that's because kids at age 12 are pretty much feel that they're adults. They can sit through events, and sometimes they can be Debbie Downers because they're like, I just want to go with the adults, whereas the other kids are excited. They're used to being separated from their parents. Kids are very resilient. They go to school, they go to daycare, they go to nursery and Sunday school class and children's church. So they're used to being separated from their parents, knowing their parents aren't too far away. So, kids, I rarely have kids that cry. I think in owning this business in 7 years, I've probably had maybe 2 parents that I've had to go get because their kids just couldn't cope. But most kids may shed a couple of tears, and then they realize, hey, there's fun stuff in here. There are people who want to play with me. I'm good.
Obviously, you have to keep them active. They're not just going to come in there and sit for however long. So what kind of activities? What kind of activities would they be doing?
Well, we are full service, so we bring all the games from board games to any type of game you can imagine except bounce houses. That's liability in most places. They won't let you bring that. But, big games, small games, we do group games. We really try to keep out of the technology realm because we want this to be an opportunity where kids can organically learn how to play, remember how to play. Usually we're doing events, family events, so these are cousins that they may not get to see all the time or any of the time, so we want them to be able to create memories with them versus hovering over a tablet. So we play a lot of traditional games that kids don't even know what they are, things like bingo and 7-Up, Thumbs Up. And you'd be surprised how many kids don't even know what a Mr. Potato Head is.
Yeah, wow.
Yes, they don't know what it is other than outside of seeing it in Toy Story. They don't realize that is a real toy. So we do those interactive games. We do arts and crafts, and we're just there to have fun and have a great time, and so we just keep them going, and we listen to music, and it's just a really good time.
Share with us a situation or how you actually had one of these events or supported one of these events. Describe how that played out.
Sure, I'll give you a really good example, and hopefully it can kind of illustrate the importance of what we do. So I had a wedding planner contact me 3 days before a wedding, and I've never gotten an email at the very end that says, help me please, before until that email. And basically these people were getting married at a very nice venue here in town, and they were expecting 50 children guests. They were Filipino and Mexican, both the parents. Those were their heritage or culture, which are cultures that have several children. And so they're expecting 50 children guests. They themselves had 4 children already together. And so not to have children was not an option. And this venue was charging them $80 a plate per person. And that price did not change with the number of children guests or the fact that they were children plates. They said, this is the price. And so you can imagine what they were thinking to pay $80 for 50 kids that were not really going to even eat the food. That's a cost of $4,000. So they were panicked. They were trying to figure out what to do. And the planner came across my information. She called me and she said, what we were hoping is that there was a loft down the street, like literally 5 minutes away, which is, a boutique type of hotel. She said, we were hoping you could watch the children there in a meeting room and we could order pizza for the kids. And so I said, okay. And so we did that, and our cost plus just ordering $60 worth of pizza saved these people about $2,800. And it gave them a way that wasn't going to be a way. They were basically going to have to tell their family that they could not have children guests because they couldn't afford it.
Wow, that's excellent. So how long are they? So obviously, some of these events start in the evening and move into the morning. So you're talking how many hours of time?
Our average event is about 4 hours, but I will tell you we do have those that run into the early mornings, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And so we're a complete solution. So I have games, activities, arts and crafts, but I also have eating solutions like high chairs and booster seats, and sleeping solutions. So we have full-size cribs, mini cribs. Of course, they're all on wheels, so we can roll them in, to changing tables, to cots for the kids to sleep in so they don't have to sleep on the floor. So we're a full shop, and, I've invested to be able to bring all those things so parents can really be at ease about their kids being there late into the early morning, and the children can be at comfort being there late into the morning.
Excellent. So if the listeners are interested in the solution that you solve, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, the best way to reach out to me is to go to our website. We do have a Contact Us form, and you can fill out that form that just collects a little bit of details, so that I'll be better informed when I give you a call back. And I call within, we ask for 48 hours, but usually it's within 24, if not that same day when the request comes in. Our office hours are Tuesday through Thursday. And that is just because usually on Fridays and Mondays, I always say Fridays we're preparing for events, and Mondays we're recovering from them. Mm. So, that's the best way to get in contact with me. And like I said, the only number that's listed on the website is my cell phone. So,
excellent. Well, thank you very much for the great information. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for being on the show. So there you have it for this edition of the show. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks for listening to the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show with T. Allen Haynes. Conversations with elite business leaders from around the world. We will see you next time on the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show.